Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'm so delighted to be here tonight, and we're going to start off with a song you may or may not know called May I Be Empty by Beth-El Congregation. The words are pretty easy. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive the light. So let's try those words together. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive the light. Goes like this. Join me when you get the hang of it. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive now with full. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive.
Shabbat Shalom. It is wonderful to have you with us here, and knowing that many of our members and others join us at all kinds of different hours between now and tomorrow morning from their homes. It's also wonderful to have you here. We know that the residents of the state also join us, so Shabbat Shalom to them as well, to be with us on this Shabbat. The Torah portion, which we're not going to read tonight, but you should know that it is Naso, it's the census. It is, and how is the census offered? It said, Naso et Bnei Yisrael. So it's literally lift up the heads of Bnei Yisrael. And so part of being counted is being lift up, is seeing yourself raised. And this is our evening during this month to be able to say that each voice matters, each person matters. And it's just wonderful to celebrate Shabbat with them. We're going to welcome each other, and then for those of you who are our guests, to know that after we all wish each other Shabbat Shalom, while we are joining in Shalom Aleichem, we invite you to, if you're comfortable doing so, light one of the tea candles, and after our candles are all lit, we'll join together in the blessing over Shabbat candles. So first, I'm sure you don't know everybody here. I'm going to confess, I don't even know everybody here. So turn around, turn near you, and wish those near you a Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. It takes me a minute after I've had a Friday off to get back on those pictures. So, yeah, that's there. But Shalom Aleichem is that 138. You're right, 140.
What is it?
Yeah, that's right. So as we continue with our service, you can find Shalom Aleichem on 142, and then we'll join in the Shabbat candles, which are all the way back on 120, but if you know it, you don't have to go there. And I'm going to invite you, if you're comfortable doing so, while we're singing, to light one of the Shabbat candles over here.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Boachem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Kadosh Baruch Hu.
I am, to speak for us, very blessed to have with us tonight Puck Glass, who is a rabbinic student. First of all, Puck was a youth group advisor here. That made me be like, oh, I recognize Puck. In addition to being a co-founder of Makom Shalanu, which meets other times, but about once a month on Saturdays nearby, and I invite you to join them as I have on Trail Lake. And we can get you more information about that, to have you with us as well tonight, as well as being a rabbinical student at Jewish Theological Seminary, which keeps you very busy, so it's good to have you with us for the summer. We're also honored to have Cantor Sherry Allen, who does many, many, many things in the community, including tutoring many of our bar and bar mitzvah students, and is the co-founder of Makom Shalanu. Also somewhere, there's Rachel. Rachel's with us as well. And I also want to point out that Kachel Konost is here, who we know who is the Southwest Education and Training Manager, your manager for Keshet. And Keshet really is about education and creating safe places for LGBTQ teens, others, adults. And they're actually going to have an amazing retreat in Austin in the fall, so I can tell you more about that. So we're glad to have them and you here with us on this Shabbat, in which we want to be known and seen as an ally to the community and another safe place in this community that's blessed to have a safe place. So I share all that with you because, in addition to welcoming each of them, before we welcome the Shabbat bride on 138, I wanted to point out to you this wonderful siddur they put together. And what a coincidence, I have a copy here, which I know I'll return. Thank you for letting me borrow it. I wanted us to begin as we prepare Shabbat with a reading from the book written by none other than Puck Glass. God of love, we find you in our own sacred and holy spaces, the tables where we find you, the closets where we find ourselves in you, the relationships where we come to know you more. Make the spaces where each of us finds ourselves a reflection of your love. God of rainbows, we celebrate the many colors by which we all gather, the colors that shape our identities, the many colors that make up our flags, the many colors that make up our bodies. We find that each of these shades is a reflection of your love for us. God of peace and justice, as we remember the struggle that unites us in our heritage, let us not forget that this fight is not over. While we celebrate today this Shabbat, remind us, tomorrow there is still work to be done, not only in our community, but in too many marginalized communities. Let our love extend like your love, well beyond our own created borders. God, may we find love as abundant as yours in learning from each other. May we have the ability to make mistakes and to continue learning. May we find the courage to radically expand our welcomes. May we breathe in slowly and know we are filled with enough. Page 138.
Please join me. I think you'll know this one. L'cha l'cha dodi, likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabbalah. L'cha l'cha dodi, likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabbalah. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, hishmi'anu chel hamichad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shem el tiferet v'tehi la 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 l'cha dodi, likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nekabbalah. L'cha dodi, likrat kala, P'nei P'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Likrat Shabbat Lechu Nevecha Ki hi Mekor HaBrecha Mirosh Mikedem Nesucha Sof Ma'aseh B'Machshava Techila La 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 Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala P'nei P'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala P'nei P'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Hitorari Kiva Ore Kumi Ori Shir Daveri Kavod Adonai Alech Nagila La 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 Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala P'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala P'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Boi v'shalom ateret bala Gam b'simcha u'tzavo hala Toch emunei am segula Boi chala Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala P'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala P'nei Shabbat Kabbalat.
You can remain standing because we're going to turn to page 144 and 145. Please read with me in the middle of 145. Teach me, O God,
a blessing of prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair.
Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise,
as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as once before, lest routine set my ways.
We continue with the Chatzi Kaddish, and then we remain standing, as is our custom, if you're able, through the Shema.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei rabbah, B'yalma divrach yorotei v'yamlik malchutei, B'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayet chol Beit Yisrael, V'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach, le'olam u'lomei almaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, dahamihiran b'yalma v'imaru. Amen.
Page 146.
Baruch et Adonai Hamavorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach
Baruch Adonai Hamavorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Page 148, we read together. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons,
and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are the creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, ever-living God.
May you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch
Atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. Please join me on page 150 as we sing Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael, Amecha Havta, Amcha Havta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbenu, Menu nasiach v'chuchecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, U'v'tznotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki heim chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, uvahem negeh yom v'layla, negeh yom v'layla, v'ahavatcha al tasid, mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated, page 155. We join together in English.
Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in the mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work. Whether you are tired or you are rested, let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God.
Before we turn to Michamocha in just a moment, another reading that I really love, that you wrote for Passover, but I didn't get maybe you wrote it for the whole year, that I think applies not only to this part of the service, but to all of us as we seek to tell our stories bravely and openly without fear. Once again, we walk out of Egypt. Once again, we tell the story so that we remember the cost of freedom. We tell the story so that we remember the role God plays in our being. We tell the story so that we know how to walk out of our own modern-day Egypt. We tell the story to understand those still captive in their own Egypt. The story happens many ways. We tell the story that the wise child may explore. We tell the story that the wicked child may find belonging. We tell the story that the simple child may plainly understand. We tell the story that the child who does not know how to ask may find interest. Story is the story of our past, present, and future. We tell the story because we find ourselves inside. This is our story that we tell as if we ourselves walked out of Egypt. We are a part of this story, an ongoing exodus. Tell your story. Tell your story so that others may explore, find belonging, plainly understand, and find interest. Tell your story celebrating the many times you have walked out of Egypt, the many more times you hope to. And tell of the times you hope to empower others to leave their Egypt, even if it is only with unleavened bread and an ounce of hope. This story is ours. Tell the story. as we cross the sea once again.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh. Malchut ra'u v'necha b'kei hayam lifnei Moshe Miriam, ze'eli anu v'yamru, Adonai imlok le'olam va'ed, v'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, u'ga'alu miyad hazak mimenu, baruch ata Adonai, ga'al Yisrael.
Page 160, as night comes, a little later, as we're in the middle of June, still we pray for peace and strength and safety as we sing together.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Ushmor tzeitenu, uvoenu, l'chaim u'shalom, me'ata v'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu v'shalom, v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim.
Shabbat. We join together on the next page, the joy of Shabbat.
V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. V'nei uvein v'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam.
Page 164. Take a deep breath as we come to the center of our service. We begin as one on the next few pages, and then through 180, if you wish, you can continue standing or seated, Hebrew and English, looking out the window at the beautiful flowers, looking at your prayer book, however you wish to continue. But first, as one, we rise for tefillah.
Let my Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, v'imru, amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, v'imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Keter Sherry Allen's been with us a lot, but I'm not sure in my limited history if you've been here to speak. You've been here to do lots of other things. Maybe you've, and then I'm asking why, right? But you've trained our bar mitzvah and bar mitzvah students. You have been a cantor in, I think, just about every congregation in this city and helped out in some capacity in Tarrant County and even in Dallas as well. You've been a model and a role model for so many people here. You had a passion to create a safe place and for all people here in Fort Worth. And so going out on a limb, the kind of limb that most rabbis and cantors in our age say, what would I do if I was fearless? But you did it. So I'm going to start a new congregation at this point. Just like those other Texas ministers, right, who get some wood and a nail and they just create a place, but you did it, and you are an inspiration. You are the Jewish, I feel like I can say this, I won't offend any other people, but like the Jewish clergy voice, I think, for all things social justice in Tarrant County. I know there aren't that many, but still embrace the award, and it's wonderful to have you here, and there are lots of other things you do. I should point out that when I was in Dallas, it was interesting because people would say to me when I worked for the Union for Reform Judaism, you should meet Richard and Sherry Allen. You love movies. Oh my gosh, you would. And being from Dallas, I went, who, what, sure, one of these days. And now that I live in Dallas, no one really visits me over here either. But then we got here, and you were one of the first people we met, one of the first people to welcome us, and then we understood. I should say that Cantor Allen was just at the Cantors Assembly, the yearly gathering of the conservative cantorate, and she got two things. One was a case of COVID, so we're sorry about that, and thank goodness you're healing and strong and back. And the other was the humanitarian award from the conservative cantorate, and so well deserved. And so I'm really appreciative that you are here tonight to bring a human dimension to this. We talk so often about policy and cause, and it's easy for people to dehumanize this, but this touches you, and it's important for us to hear why this is so important. So thank you for being a part of our community tonight, Cantor.
It's hard to follow that lovely introduction. Thank you so much, Rabbi Simon. Shabbat Shalom. And happy Pride. When Rabbi Zimmerman asked me to speak tonight, I was really thrilled because talking about my children is one of my favorite subjects. But tonight, however, I'm especially honored to share their stories with you, as they have struggled with and celebrated their evolving identities in the hopes that it will lead to greater understanding and acceptance of the LGBTQ plus people you know, or don't know you know, and hopefully love. I am so proud of my 3 extraordinary queer children. Despite the challenges they face, they have grown up to be strong, confident, compassionate people who are living authentic, fulfilling lives. Jeremy, our oldest, is an art director for the New York Times Style section, and he has written some very candid and honest pieces in the Times about the challenges of living as a gay man. In September, he will be celebrating 2 years of marriage to his husband, Sam, a doctor, specializing in LGBTQ plus health. Emily, our bisexual daughter, who will be celebrating her first year of marriage to her husband, Jesse, but don't forget I'm bi, she keeps telling us, is one of the go-to photographers for both the Jewish and the queer community in Nashville. Her unique focus on capturing the beauty of LGBTQ bodies and souls has been recognized in public spaces and in the press, including the Washington Post, the Nashville Scene, and Nashville Public Television. And this year, she won the Nashville Pride Festival's Philanthropic Business Award, so very proud of her. And Preston, our youngest, a transgender playwright, composer, and lyricist, tirelessly advocates for uplifting trans voices on stage, television, and screen. His work has been featured at the New Amsterdam Theater, Lincoln Center, and off-Broadway. And just last week, he received Windy City Times Magazine's 30 Under 30 Award, honoring those who have made, quote, substantial contributions to the LGBTQ plus community in the fields of entertainment, politics, health, activism, academics, and sports. So, when it comes to fighting for LGBTQ plus rights, they are my inspiration. But I do believe that having a support system, family and friends, help them develop their courage, strength, and confidence. And if you only remember one thing tonight, let it be this. If there is someone in your life exploring, asserting, and or growing into their LGBTQ plus identity, the most important gift that you can give them is your love, your unconditional support, a non-judgmental ear, and your commitment to being their fiercest ally. And they will need you. Because as we've seen over the past few years, the lives of queer folks have been under attack by those whose ignorance and fear have motivated them to try and erase LGBTQ plus lives. Back in 2015, after gay marriage was legalized, I remember feeling so grateful that my kids were fortunate to grow up in a world where the tide seemed to be turning, albeit slowly, in favor of equal rights for the queer community. Millennials and Generation Zers seem to be much more welcoming and accepting of queer folk than the generation before them. It just wasn't a big deal to have classmates, colleagues, college friends, family who identified as LGBTQ, as evidenced by the fact that over the last few years, youth coming out as transgender has almost doubled. I felt confident that my kids, in all their queerness, would continue to succeed and thrive in a world that, for the most part, seemed to welcome them. But the 2016 election, a devastating pandemic in 2020, and a sharp rise in violent hate crimes in the LGBTQ community have changed all that. I think that for many of us, the pandemic revealed some hard truths. That as a nation and more broadly, as human beings, we have much work to do when it comes to addressing systemic injustice that perhaps we, and by we I mean me, were often too busy to focus on until we were forced to confront it on our screens as we sat at home in lockdown. BC, before COVID, I would deliver sermons to my former congregation highlighting some of these issues, but I also felt secretly guilty that while I tried to talk the talk, I really wasn't walking the walk. So, when pandemic restrictions eased up, I started walking, specifically in pride parades. And although I'd like to think that the humanitarian impulse in me motivated me to take action, in all honesty, it was also my children that provided that extra nudge. Because in February 2020, Preston, who lived in New York at the time, was hospitalized with a serious infection and sepsis. And despite our pleading with him to come home and recuperate, he chose to remain in New York, the epicenter of the newly emerging COVID pandemic, rather than risk being denied health care here in Texas. This crisis was the catalyst for my newfound fervor for advocacy. But I soon came to understand that this was not just a personal issue. It was a human rights issue, which affected and affects untold numbers of people who simply want to live authentically. And it needs to be a priority for all of us, specifically as Jews, because the Jewish umbrella envelops a plethora of intersectional Jewish and gender identities, ethnicities, and cultures. Our fates are intertwined. It also might surprise you to know that, according to Pew Research Study's latest survey of Jewish Americans, 1 in 10 Jewish adults identify as gay or lesbian. This is our community too. So Makom Shalanu was created so that people like my children and those who love them would have a place where they would be fully seen, heard, and supported. And Puck and I are constantly thinking about how to make that happen. So here's what it means to us to be a welcoming congregation. Branding. Our brand is a rainbow flame. Our Sidurim, as you can see, there's our logo, and our Sidur is very, very colorful. So is our Maksor, which we created from scratch last year. That was a fun time, wasn't it, Puck? Our website, rainbows all over the place. We kind of went into this thinking, if you walked into our congregation, if someone who was LGBTQ+ walked into our congregation, how would they know that they would be welcome there? So we do it in very outward ways, as well as some inward ways too. Pronouns. Our name tags have our pronouns on them, and not just our names. The language that we use, our membership forms, and things like that that sometimes we just don't think about so much is really important. The way that we call people up to the Torah, we have choices for that, and that embodies, non-binary language as well. The bathrooms that we have in the church that we are housed in, it's very comforting to know that there are signs on the men and women's bathroom that say, please use the bathroom of the gender that you identify with. And there are also period products in the men's room. We really like that touch. We acknowledge and celebrate the LGBTQ calendar because Pride shouldn't just be a once-a-month thing. All through the year, there are celebrations, there are some days of mourning. There is a plethora of different specific LGBTQ holidays and observances that we definitely bring attention to. In testing the boundaries of SB 12, which I'll talk about in a minute, the so-called drag bill, we did a drag Purim this year. Many of you were there, and we appreciated that very much. We had 175 people pack the church, and actually it was standing room only. And we hired a local drag queen, Salem Moon, to play Queen Esther. And of course, we have another one of our stars here, several of them. Rachel was Ahashveru. We had a RuPaul-inspired drag race. And, we had Mordechai back there, Cal Silverberg in his best tux, and Maury Amsterdam haircut. It was wonderful. I was there. Yeah, and it was amazing to see how many people from many different faith communities came out to support that. So we were really inspired by that. And then, of course, we advocate. We advocate a lot. We do this through several different venues. We have several interfaith partnerships. We belong to the IFC, the Inclusive Faith Coalition, which is a coalition of 13 very inclusive faith congregations that share resources, do programming and advocacy work together, and we meet once a month at Rudy's in Arlington just to kind of schmooze, commiserate, fetch together, and it's really a lovely support system of clergy. We are also members of Justice Network Tarrant County, which is a group of 25 faith congregations that do social justice advocacy work around prison reform, education, gun violence, and LGBTQ+ rights. I'm the chair of that committee. And we've lobbied together at the Capitol. We've testified at city council and school board meetings. We've sent letters with over 100 signatures opposing discriminatory policies to Mayor Parker and other officials. We've shown up at rallies and press conferences and have been quoted in the media, and we're really just so humbled and proud also that your rabbis, Rabbi Zimmerman, Rabbi Mecklenburger, and many of you have signed some of those letters as well. The most recent thing, when LUCA, which stands for Latinas United for Conservative Action, was granted permission to have a panel discussion about the dangers of transgenderism at the Fire Station Community Center last Saturday, we wrote a letter in protest that garnered 117 signatures and resulted in the creation of a competing Pride Picnic in the Park event, which countered the hate speech that was going on inside the building. I believe we had double of the attendance that they did. And that's justice in action. I mean, that is what this group was created for, and it's nice to see, even if it's just kind of like putting Band-Aids on things sometimes, it's nice to see that we can gather together in community and take this action and have a voice. I'm hoping that all of you can come to the Interfaith Pride service that we are going to have. That Puck put together a beautiful, very full and rich service, including readings. Rabbi Zimmerman is going to be there reading something, and Mia, and I think we have about about 8, 10 congregations participating. Last year we had over 100 people that were there. It's going to be at First Congregational Church, which is where we are housed too, this Thursday at 7 p.m. So I hope that you'll be able to join us. We would love to have a nice, strong interfaith, but especially Jewish showing. And then in August, we are also having an Interfaith Pride concert, which is going to benefit NTTN, the North Texas Transportation Network, which raises funds to help other youth who are no longer allowed to get their gender-affirming health care here in Texas, to help them get it in other states. And then something that I really have to push, and Rachel's here so she can also, and Rachel, they can both really back me up on this, the Shivyon cohort. So Keshet has this wonderful cohort that they've put together called Shivyon. It's a year-long cohort-based project of training, consultation, and learning, and members of the congregations and organizations that do this will be assisted in conducting an internal assessment of their congregation to kind of really sort of assess where we are on that inclusion ladder and come up with a long-term plan to build inclusion and be supported with individual coaching and other resources and connection with other groups doing similar work. Makom Shalanu just finished our year-long cohort this year. We got our little certificate. We're so proud. And really, it's just wonderful, a wonderful way to be in community with other congregations that are doing this work also, and to learn things that, really we would not have thought of otherwise. So I really encourage Beth-El to look into that for next year. It's a great, great, great program. It is energizing and empowering to be involved in this work, but it's also exhausting because there is no end to the vitriol and hate speech that is continuing to endanger innocent lives. And although this current administration fully supports LGBTQ equality, states across the country have become even more determined than ever to quash it. During this 2024 legislative session, the ACLU is tracking 513 anti-LGBTQ bills in the U.S. The Texas legislature is not currently in session, but in 2023, I'm wondering if you know what exactly passed. 3 major ones, actually. SB 14, which was a bill, now a law, banning puberty blockers and hormone therapy for transgender kids. SB 15, restricting the college sports teams that trans athletes can join in high school and in college. And SB 12, which criminalizes performers that put on sexually explicit shows in front of children, as well as any businesses that host them. But the definition of sexually explicit shows is so vague that LGBTQ advocates said that drag performers can still be at risk. Thus, our drag purim. Several school districts in Texas also require students to use the restroom according to the sex assigned at birth, and do not require teachers to call them by their preferred pronouns, and requires district employees to out students to their parents if a student requests to be identified as transgender, change his or her name or their name, or use different pronouns at school. And it irony of ironies, in Fort Worth Academy of Fine Arts, a school that my transgender son graduated from many moons ago, birth certificates are now required for choir auditions. So, we can't afford to be fatigued. We can't afford to be fatigued when Pastor Dylan Oz, in a Sunday sermon at Steadfast Baptist Church in Watauga some time ago, announced that gay people should be convicted in a lawful trial, sentenced to death, and lined up against the wall and shot in the back of the head. And we just can't dismiss this vitriol as the ravings of a lunatic whose hate group is disguising itself as a church, because as much as we try to reason that this is just a fringe group, we know that there are many, many others who share the same views. Sarah Kate Ellis, president and CEO of GLAAD, one of this country's largest LGBTQ+ rights organizations, states, while there is always a fringe extremist element that oppose LGBTQ equality, there has been an enormous increase in misinformation and lies about LGBTQ people entering mainstream discourse. So in other years, Pride has been about celebrating victories, and this year, of course, that still holds true. But also for the past few years, it's been about protecting lives, my children included. And right now, in this moment, there is an urgent need to support all of your LGBTQ congregants, potential congregants, and anyone who walks through your doors, not only with words, but with action. I've heard so many stories of those who have been rejected by their faith communities, and the outcomes can be devastating and tragic. So we must provide that affirmation and love and acceptance. I'm worried about what the future may hold for my children and all queer individuals who are trying to live their lives in peace and freedom. But I'm also inspired by all those who paved the way for us to keep fighting this uphill battle. Those who value equality and dignity and the sacredness of every human being. Pride was born out of protest, and it's going to take continued efforts to keep moving forward. I'm in it for the long run, and I hope you are too. Shabbat Shalom. Time for any questions? Does anyone have any questions? Because I'll answer anything, literally anything. Oh, come on, this is a group of Jews. Come on, you must have questions.
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
This is a real question, but you always need someone with a question ready. But it's a serious question. So in this environment, what are the tools, the means by which to get people? In your case, it's very visible. Here's Makom Shalanu, they're there. If you know someone who's afraid to come out, afraid for situations, one thing you can do is say, hey, there's this place, go call, help them find a safe place. What do you do, though, with other resources? So one example, by the way, you worked in all my announcements into your speech, so I don't forget. There's one remaining, which is that Kesha just announced they're going to have a teen LGBTQ+
Yes.
retreat, a safe place in Austin.
Yes.
The question is, I'm going to tell you something and you'll chuckle. There are no LGBTQ teens in 7th through 12th grade at Beth-El. Well, of course there are.
That you know of.
Exactly, of course there are, statistically.
Yeah.
So the question is, for a variety of reasons, they may not want to share that.
Yeah.
So what tools, how does one let people know this is here, it's available? How do you get the word out when it may not even be Beth-El? It may be simply they don't feel this is a safe city to come out in. So how do we connect people to
Yeah.
the resources in this environment? We're not in New York, we're not even in Dallas, so.
Yeah, well, and I think Puck can help answer that too, because you work more with the youth as well. But I would think just have that in your weekly, your announcements as you would any other announcement. You know, just assume that you have that
Yeah.
that congregation, you know, those kids here. And they'll find it, and they'll say, if they're in, looks like anything else, you know. We know that a lot of things that we might advertise, not everyone's gonna, you know, be interested
Yeah.
or want to do. We'll put it in there anyway. So, you know, if this is just part of what you normally, naturally do for whatever your youth events are, and this is just another one of them,
Yeah.
it normalizes it,
Yeah.
I think. Would you have any other?
Yeah, I think
Comments
that's
on
right. I also think that doing things like this, right? There are there are many teens who have different roles, different identities in different spaces. I think that's not just true of queer children, right? And I think that there are children who secretly love movies at home, and when they're with their friends, I hate movies. Movies are awful, right? This is true of many things.
Yeah.
But doing things like this, where like there are visibly queer people, where you are standing up and saying, I am visibly an ally, right? Might mean that this is a place where a child wants to, or a teen wants to be fully themselves, even if they're not fully that other places. And so just making sure that that is available, they know it is available for that, I think is another thing. Just being here doing this, right? Having rainbow oneg, I think is the way. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, and there are some, I'm not suggesting that you would not necessarily do this, but there are a lot of congregations now that are no longer calling it a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. They're calling it a b'nai mitzvah or a b mitzvah or something. That's just, that's just what they call it for everybody now. And this is not just Reformed congregations, it's conservative congregations too. Oh, the B mitzvah program or the B'nai mitzvah program, the way that they call people up to one conservative congregation actually who, the RA president and the CA president both are there, and they call everyone up to the B. You know how usually, Hebrew's gendered. We use ta'amod and ya'amod to call someone up to the B. They use nala amod, make it please, to come up to the B for everybody. So like I said, it's not even like they're distinguishing. They just do that. So, that's one way too, to think about, offering maybe, even if you don't change that, but offering another way to name this ceremony for kids. We can call it, a bar mitzvah, a bat mitzvah, b'nai mitzvah, b mitzvah. What are you most comfortable with? How would you like to, be called to the bima? That kind of thing. Just to offer, not to take options away, but perhaps to offer options too.
I also just want to add that there's a lot of things that Beth-El's already doing that you may not know about. Like,
Oh yeah, I saw that.
where's this? You got this today, right? And unless you're a trans person or specifically looking, you might not notice that it tells you where the gender neutral bathroom is,
That's awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Like that is something that signals to a trans person that I can be here and I can be safe. Even if it's not happening, like even if you don't walk in and there's rainbows, right? There are small things that do that. And so there are already things that are happening both publicly and behind the scenes here, right, that will signal to people that this is a place where they can be. And so, I am delighted to see that happening. I'm also delighted to see it continue. So if you also want to know what's happening here, I'm sure that there are people here who can tell you, like on the other end of what you don't see, that a queer person, an LGBTQ plus person might look and say, I know this place can be for me because that you would not otherwise notice. So it's happening here, right, already, without us standing here and saying, here's how to go forward. It's happening already. And those small signals matter a lot. Yeah.
And I just said, for while we're up here, I have to say that, Makom Shalanu, I would not have been able to do, it wouldn't be possible for me to do it without Puck. I mean, this is a true partnership that I think has just really grown stronger through, a lot. It's been hard, and it still is. But to have Puck there, really, just supporting and doing so many things that I, technology-wise, social media, I don't know, there was no way I could do it. But also just to see how you have blossomed and grown into this leader, that one of the future, clergy that other kids are going to be able to look up to. Being a real role model as LGBTQ clergy for them has just been, I get a lot of knocks from that too. I say I have 3 queer children. Well, I have, a chosen child / business partner / friend, too. And so it's really just been a wonderful journey to see how you have grown and continue to through all of this too. So.
Also an incredibly journey that my family did not do the support thing immediately, is still learning the support things. So when Sherry stands here and says, this is how much I care, right? Like, I have adults in my life who I know also advocate right, for my existence, and that care about that existence, right, Jewishly and just as a human. And so I'm so grateful to be like in relationship with you and with many other adults who are doing that work, for the many people who do their coming out and don't have the people that are as supportive.
Yeah.
As
Absolutely,
person I
and and the person that really is the behind the scenes person. You don't see you see us all the time, but Richard, really has been. It really it takes a whole family. It's just not. It's sometimes I'm like the outward face of it, but it takes a whole family to support a whole family. And when Preston was going to have his surgery, his top surgery, and the insurance that TCU, we were on, wasn't covering that, Richard lobbied for that and changed it and got that covered. And now anybody that has a child, a TCU employee or a child of employee at TCU that is going to be having or needs to have gender confirmation surgery, hopefully they're over 18, but but Richard's the reason why they can do that, and he is one of the hugest allies of our kids in so many ways. So it really does. No one can do this kind of work alone. It takes a family, it takes a congregation, it takes a community. So we're so happy that you are in community with us.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. We continue with prayer for wholeness. There are many types of brokenness and many types of healing that are needed. And our Misha Berach makes room for all of them, for all who are in need, through wars, through secret lives, through broken souls, and those who are sick and need to go to the doctor. And we also pray for their healing. And so as we look to 371, first I'd like to mention the names of Christopher Long, Jeannie Rosenblum, Ann Westerman, Barbara Leffer, Susie Kornblit, Gordon Brody, Lee Ansbacher, Susan Schultz, Irv Rubinson, Melanie Cooper Welch, Sharon Brenner, Scott Minker, Steve Nathan, John Freed, Kevin Lehrer, Arnie Pell, George Berger, Jackie Brow, Bob Lewis, Stephanie Smith, Fred Reynolds, Stephanie Posner, Martha Brown, Hans Grimm, Alan Feinberg, Carol St. Ange, Leslie Arnove, Eden Noah Cohn, Judy Kotler Goldberg, Sue Lurie, David Raghib, John Rubin, Rabbi Evan Goodman, and any other names we might wish to add.
David Yitzhak Ben Naomi.
Azad Hayab, Tim Carver Richardson.
Looking in the back. Yeah. For all those and those whose names we may not have, we pray for healing and wholeness and strength for all those innocent victims over, abroad, around the world, including Israel and the Middle East, and for those for whom physical healing is no longer an option. Still, we pray for strength for their caregivers, strength for their family, love so they may face what lies ahead. As together we join in the words of the Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mechor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mechor HaBracha
And as we turn to 586 toward the end of our service, we know we look to the future with the words of Aleinu. We pray for a future of wholeness and kindness and godliness found within all. Please rise. Please be seated. This is our custom at Beth-El, as it is with more and more congregations, to ask you to sit. So in a minute we can ask you to stand again. But we do that so that if you are remembering someone and you want to be noticed, you can have that option. And then we will all rise to offer strength, as is our custom here. And so we think on this Shabbat of those we remember, those even that we may remember at other times of year, those on this Shabbat who had to live silent lives, not known for who they truly were. For all of them, we offer Kaddish on this Shabbat memory, as well as for those who remember them. And on this Shabbat, we remember the names in this 30-day period of mourning, known as Shloshim, of Joe Gorst, Avet Stenzler-Kovit, Saray Cohen, Dr. Victor Menzler. In addition, we mention the names of the Yortzites, the anniversaries of their deaths from this past week, including this Shabbat, of Ida Marcus Anisman, R.C. Archie Archenhold, Leah Baum, Leon Benkoff, Rose Nolman Bilski, Gertrude Chkotsky, Joseph Crystal, Simon Cy Davidson, Abe Davis, Jazonda Fox, Ellie Louise Gilbert, Rose Haas Gilbert, Grace Goodman, Saul Haber, Rebecca Lind Hurwitz, Rosalie Jacobs, Sam Kahn, Paula Kelfer, Jacob Klar, Morris Kotkin, Sadie Lefkowitz, Louis Lesnick, Ellen Mack, Edith Maximum, Herman Nass, Edgar Parvey, Bernice Rapfogel, Eva Rosenberg, Jerome Selig, Dorothy Shelby, Jan Stanton, Arthur Skip Orbach, Lily Weiner, as well as, if we have other names of people who are saying Kaddish this week, and perhaps you're visiting and I don't have their name. We all rise together, page 598, as we join in the mourners' Kaddish as our comfort dictates. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, B'alma divrach yirteh, B'yamlich malchuteh, B'chayechon u'yomechon, U'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, B'gala u'bizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah v'rach le'elam Amei Amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei k'dusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran b'yama v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'ramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael
Beth-El
Amen. Please be seated. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be a blessing for all of us who remember. For our closing song, we're getting ready for our closing song. Thank you. Thank you. Please do feel free to talk to not only the founders of Makom Shalanu, but quite a few of their board members are here tonight, so you can ask more. Also, I have to put a shout out. I don't know what it'll be this year, but last year I was at Trinity Pride Fest, and it was so Fort Worth. That's all I want to say. All the other cities, they're there, they're boom, they're statements. It was very cool. It was very hot, and I don't mean that metaphorically. It was 100 degrees, but it was also very yeah, live and let live, kind of wow. Food trucks, hang out. It was amazing. People brought their dogs. If you want to do that to your dog in 100-degree weather, I don't know. I'll decide if my dog can handle it. We're still on the fence. But please do come and join tomorrow night from 6 to 10. There's a lot of wonderful things going on. And of course, do take a chance to say hello to Kachel, joining us from Houston, right? Hand up from Keshet. We're glad you're here with us as well as Rachel and others, of course. Yes, a new tune, right?
Adon Olam, new tune. Hopefully you enjoy it.
can do this.
Before we turn to that, I just want to thank you. It's been lovely to be on this bima with you. When I walked into Beth-El 4.5 years ago for Slichot weekend, I never pictured standing up here with you. It was not in the picture scheme, so I'm delighted.
Well, I should give a shout out. You will be teaching Torah and Talmud tidbits. Is it Wednesday? I don't remember the day of the week.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Whatever it is, it's in the bulletin, newsletter, e-blasts, 45 minutes before the Minyan once a week, and you can come join and learn a little. And thank you for offering that to us.
Absolutely.
So Adon Olam is 6:25 if you need the words, only because it's a new tune.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra, V'et Nasa, B'Beth-El Kol, Hazar Melech Shemo Nikra, Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra, V'et Nasa,
It's summer, which means a lot of people are away, so I don't know who we have tonight has had their bar mitzvah. Oh, that could apply to b'nai mitzvah. That could apply to any age, but you can come up and lead us in Kiddush and Motzi. Join with us on 122. If not, I know Robert and Carl will always bail us out and stand up here as well. And as we prepare for Kiddush and Motzi, I do want to say, I can't resist the opportunity, 123, that before we join in those blessings, it was Rabbi Mecklenburger would commonly offer the priestly benediction every week. I do it sometimes, but it's this week's Torah portion, so you can't not do it. So we ask God's blessing upon all of, yes, it came from this week. That's this week's trivia. If you're at dinner tomorrow and you're like, hey, do you know when the priestly blessing occurs? This week. So there we go. And so we ask God blessing upon you and all of us who are in need. Yevarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ye'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God watch over you and protect you and guide you in these challenging times. May you feel God's presence lifting you up when you need it most, keeping you strong and firm in all that you do. And may God grant all of us all of the blessings we need, but most of all, shalom. May God grant us wholeness and peace. We join in the blessing over wine and juice and all things grape. Grape? No, take it away. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava u'ratzon imchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehillah l'mikrae kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha b'ahava u'ratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh Hashem. Chaim and the blessing over bread, and not a rainbow, but still looks beautiful. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Bring it back. Anybody can have some. And Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Don't slide.